straight ahead in this half hour.
All traffic is stopped on the field. All traffic is stopped on the field.
Confusion today in the aftermath of that plane crash in Bangor. Were there 8 people on board or 6? And was there really a lone survivor? Plus, what, if any, role did the snowstorm play in that crash? Also ahead.
They have done everything that they needed to do, and this is just the last resort to them.
They have to be more responsible.
In the wake of the financial troubles facing Washington County, a bill that would allow it and any other county to declare bankruptcy. Should it become law? And
got no place to go. Place will feed you, dress you, house you, and it's a good spot.
With a foot or more of snow falling in the last 24 hours, making sure those living on the streets are able to survive the bitter cold. This is News Center Maine at 6. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being with us. I'm Amanda Hill.
And I'm Brian Nakona. We are still in storm center mode for this newscast because of the lingering snowfall.
It's part of the same system that dumped more than a foot of snow in many parts of the state since yesterday afternoon. We'll get an update from Ryan Breton in just a moment.
But first, the latest on last night's fatal plane crash in Bangor. One that we are now being told claimed 6 lives with no survivors. So earlier in the day, the Federal Aviation Administration had said there were 8 people on that business jet, with a lone crew member surviving.
The agency has since deferred to Bangor authorities for that information. What we do know for sure is that the flight originated in Houston and landed at Bangor International Airport around 6:09 last night. We do not know where it was heading to when it crashed on takeoff. We do have team coverage, though. Tonight, News Center Maine's Brianna Bush is at the Bangor International Airport, and Sam Olson is in the newsroom with more on the final minutes before the crash. Sam, we start with you tonight.
Brian and Amanda, one of the things federal investigators will be looking at is the weather conditions at the time of the crash. The Associated Press is reporting that the pilot of an Allegiant Air flight had aborted its takeoff just a few minutes before because of an icing issue and low visibility due to the snow. The pilot of the business jet, which had just refueled in Bangor, had requested the plane be de-iced before taking off and that the plane was on the de-icing pad for about 20 minutes before taxiing to the runway. I spoke with an aviation expert and a former NTSB investigator this afternoon. He told me the Bombardier Challenger 600 series has a history of problems with icing on takeoff, and even a little bit of ice could cause serious problems.
The airplane begins to come off the runway, and then because of an asymmetry with the contaminated wings, one wing will tend to roll over and the airplane will roll over on itself, which appears to be what happened here.
Jeff Gazzetti says the first thing NTSB investigators will do is look for the flight recorders. He says it is very likely it had at least a cockpit voice recorder, but investigators will also look to see if it had a flight data recorder. He says he expects this investigation will take at least 1 year. Brian, Amanda.
Sam Olson live for us tonight, kicking us off in the newsroom. Sam, thank you. We do have team coverage. Want to bring in now News Center Maine's Brianna Bush.
Brianna spoke with someone who witnessed the crash. She's at a very quiet Bangor International Airport tonight. Hi, Brianna.
Hi, Amanda and Brian. That's right. The airport is closed and will remain closed until at least noon on Wednesday. And right now, we're also looking at we're told that we're awaiting the arrival of the National Transportation Safety Board, who will be investigating the crash. And flights in and out of Bangor right now are delayed for the foreseeable future. And I actually spoke with someone who was stranded here in Bangor and actually witnessed the crash from her hotel room.
So we saw a orange flash through the window of the hotel. Then we heard a loud boom, and we weren't sure what had happened. But when we did find out that it was a plane crash, we figured that that would definitely be affecting our flight. And we were worried that the weather was going to affect it. But it turned out that in this case, it was the crash.
Now, airport officials say that if your flight is canceled, to check your flight details to see any updated information. And we're going to keep you updated as we learn more about this investigation here and online. And we'll just keep you updated. In Bangor, Brianna Bush, News Center, Maine.
All right, Brianna, thank you. Now, this plane involved in the Bangor crash was a Bombardier Challenger 600 series, which has a generally solid safety record. But there have now been 8 fatal crashes involving that plane in the U.S. in the last 25 years.
The deadliest one was in May of 2019 when a plane carrying 13 people, which had taken off from Las Vegas, crashed in the mountains just north of Monterrey, Mexico, after encountering very strong turbulence. The most recent that we could find in our research today was the crash of a Challenger aircraft in Naples, Florida. This was February of 2024. The flight crew reported they had lost engine power and were not going to make it back to the airport. They ended up crashing along a highway. 2 members of that crew were killed. 3 others survived with minor injuries. And as we just heard from Sam Olson, icing could be something these investigators will be looking at when determining the cause of this crash.
Let's bring in Ryan Breton for a look at what conditions were at the time in that area. Hi, Ryan.
Amanda and Brian, the snow began in Bangor around 6 p.m. So while in southern Maine there was heavy snow by 7:45 or 8 o'clock, the conditions at Bangor International Airport were going downhill. Now the runway is oriented in this direction, northwest to southeast or southeast to northwest. At the time, this is the 8 p.m. observation, which would have been shortly after this incident. There was a northeast wind, which is a crosswind. Typically, planes try to take off into the wind, but in this case, either way on the runway, it would have been a crosswind. Temperature only 2 degrees, visibility about 3/4 of a mile, and this is a long runway, close to 2 miles in length. The visibility was dropping during this time and the intensity of the snow was increasing. So compared to 7 o'clock or even 6 o'clock, the conditions were going downhill, but they weren't as heavy as they were later in the night. Of course, the weather certainly a factor that will be looked into as a result, guys.
Yeah, some important context as we're covering last night's crash. Ryan, another round of snow happening right now, however.
Yeah, same storm, Brian and Amanda, sticking around. As we mentioned, for several days, this would be a long duration storm, and we still have a little bit more accumulation to go. There's patchy light snow in eastern and northern Maine. Could be a few flakes in central Maine, but southern and western Maine is where the steadier snow is at this point. Temperatures are in the lower teens, 13 in Portland, 11 in Lewiston, single numbers up around Route 2. And in eastern Maine, patchy areas of light snow at this point, but the snow you see to the west will be spreading east over the next several hours. So we'll show you this here hour by hour. Snow fills in a little bit toward 8 and 9 o'clock. If you still have cleanups to do, frankly, many people will have to at least get rid of this last couple of inches of snow. This will be winding down toward and after midnight, and by tomorrow morning, it's long gone, but considering it's so cold, there still will be some blowing and drifting too. There may be some delays for tomorrow morning's commute. On average, it's probably about another 2 inches of snow, but there could be a few places that pick up a 3rd or 4th inch before this is all said and done. And just to give you an idea of the end time, it's either side of midnight in the western half of the state and likely after midnight through central and eastern Maine. We have a cold pattern and the potential, at least, for another storm before the end of the 7-day. We'll talk about it coming up.
All right, Ryan, thank you. So that's later, but still right now, this snowfall is making for a messy commute home.
Meteorologist Dana Osgood, our eyes on the roadway tonight. She joins us live. So Dana, where are you now?
Hi, Amanda and Brian. We are right now on Route 1 traveling north right now, moving through Scarborough. We actually just passed Amados with a sign that said it was closed today due to the weather, and it's certainly snowing a lot harder than it was even just in the last half hour. You can see some of the more larger snowflakes. I've actually seen a couple that have stuck to the windshield or the side window here. Look a lot more like the dendrites, like traditional snowflakes. So it's certainly snowing a bit harder than it was before. And we've been out for a while now, especially during that evening commute time. And yet we haven't seen that many people out and about. Certainly more cars around now than we saw, for example, just a little bit earlier. But certainly a lot of people have been choosing to stay inside because there's still snow falling at this time. And road conditions have gone back and forth. I have the camera up of the road behind us right now. So it looks like there's a decent amount of snow and ice on Route 1 right now. And over the past like maybe 10 minutes or so, the road conditions have changed a lot just on this one road in particular. So it's certainly important to consider if you are going to be traveling, the conditions will be variable even on the same road. So make sure that you are taking things slow and taking things carefully. I'll send things back to you, Brian and Amanda.
All right, a few hours to go. Dana Osgood live on the roadway for us tonight. Dana, thank you. When we come back right now, it is illegal for a Maine county to declare bankruptcy.
However, a Maine lawmaker wants to change that. We'll tell you why as News Center Maine at 6 continues.
This session, state legislators are weighing the value of incorporating Chapter 9 bankruptcy into Maine law.
The proposal would only apply to municipalities and counties, and it has gotten a lot of pushback. Christian Harsa is here to break it down for us more. Hi, Christian.
Hi, Brian, Amanda. Yes, so counties are facing some pretty difficult finances, now none more than Washington County. But bankruptcy is not something that people, including county leaders, seem to want on the table.
The rocky and jagged coast of Washington County may be beautiful, while the county's budget is not so pretty. Washington County is $11 million in the hole. It has a $3 million budget deficit and owes another $8 million to Machias Savings Bank.
So I put the guardrails in place.
Republican State Senator Marion Moore wants to give her home county a chance at escaping that hole with Chapter 9 bankruptcy.
But it allows them to negotiate maybe a different maturity date on a debt, negotiate interest rates.
Unlike other forms of bankruptcy, Chapter 9 would not allow liquidation or repossession. 28 other states have this option for municipalities and counties, but it does not seem Maine will be number 29.
From the time the bill was allowed.
Lawmakers are skeptical.
Why this bill?
County leaders aren't in favor.
We voted to oppose this bill as well.
Even Moore's own county isn't on board.
I mean, we're not supporting it.
Bankruptcy is just not a tool many, including Somerset County Administrator Tim Curtis, want at their disposal.
If you are an individual and you've gone through a bankruptcy, it hurts your credit rating. Well, think about what that does to a municipality.
He says this would make banks more risk adverse,
especially loaning money at an advantageous rate or term.
Getting to the point of bankruptcy is just too late.
They have to be more responsible.
President of the Maine County Commissioners Association, Andre Cushing, says the issues start earlier with a balanced budget.
But they also have to be cooperative when there are challenges that counties have because of a lack of partnership from the state.
Cushing says counties have not been getting the funding they need from the state. One example is a recent reduction to the rate of real estate sales tax counties get.
We have to either cut services or find that revenue from the property taxpayer.
Cushing says there is no time like the present for a budget facelift.
And the state is looking at a $250 million surplus in revenues.
That temporary cut to real estate tax revenue for counties could become permanent. This bill is in the legislature right now and would also double the reduction to the county's piece of that tax. As of right now, Brian, Amanda, there is no public hearing or a work session scheduled for this piece of legislation.
Okay, we'll see where this goes.
Yes, we will.
Christian, thank you. Still ahead tonight, the intense cold and snow that we have experienced over the last few days has been especially difficult on the state's homeless population.
When we come back, Drew Peters has the story of those out in the cold and those trying to help them. But first,
Brian, the key to this storm really has been the Arctic air. I can't remember a snowstorm this cold. You have to go back at least 10 years since the last time we had heavy snow with temperatures in the single digits. Right now we have the last round moving through. It's 11 degrees on the Turnpike in Gray. You can see there is some additional accumulation there. We'll talk about the last of this storm and look ahead through the rest of the week when we come back.
We have had Flurry, our little storm car, out and about today. We had it out all night last night too, which was really helpful to see the conditions. But this is in Portland right now. Looks like they're coming on Commercial Street. They just passed the VA. And you can see some pavement there, Ryan, but as you said, this storm has been cold, and so it's really just sticking.
That's the key. Salt really isn't effective below 15 degrees. That's a factor.
Below that.
Even though we had the lull in many spots today, it was the cold that made the difference in that there was still some snow on the ground. And tonight, in addition to what's still falling, there can still be some drifting back onto roads too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what happens when it's cold and powdery snow. 20 inches Pretty common number from southern York County down to the seacoast of New Hampshire. Kennebunk 21, Kittery 20 inches of snow. A couple of these numbers are old, and again, we're still adding to them now with the last round of snow coming through. Around 15 inches in the Lewiston area. Rumford came in with 18, 13 in Bath, and in eastern Maine we're around a foot here for many, and you still have a little ways to go. As you went to the north, the numbers did taper off as expected. Here is that last burst of snow that's coming into southern Maine right now. It's not all that heavy, but it is cold, so there will be some additional accumulation as this comes through over the next several hours. Temperatures in the lower teens through most of southern and central Maine, single numbers up to the north. This last round of snow, as some energy pivots on the backside of the storm, this will come to an end toward and after midnight tonight, and we have a quieter day on the way tomorrow. So on top of what's on the ground now, I think many of us get about another 2 inches of snow. There could be a few isolated higher amounts, particularly in eastern Maine late tonight. We'll show you that here on the timeline. You can see the snow moving to the east by about midnight, ending in New Hampshire and western Maine, but it takes until after midnight to wrap up down east. I think there could be some school delays tomorrow morning when you consider we're in the single digits. This has been a cold snowstorm, and there's a lot of it in many cases, but conditions should be much better for getting around after sunrise. There could be an afternoon flurry tomorrow. I don't see much more than that, maybe a dusting in spots. Otherwise, the weather tomorrow much quieter. High temperatures, upper teens to around 20 should do it for most, a little bit colder off to the north. But the theme this week is going to be the cold weather. We stay right around 20 for highs between tomorrow and Friday, overnight lows either side of zero. And then late this week, the jet stream configures itself into a pattern where if I looked at this, I'd say a big storm is going to form, and we expect a big storm to form off the East Coast over the weekend. However, right now, almost all of the computer models suggest this will take an offshore track. We've seen, though, just in the last couple of weeks, even if they're all showing it offshore, it can still creep back to the northwest. So my hunch is we have to watch this. There will be a storm. The track this far out is just uncertain. One other concern with this storm, tides are astronomically high this weekend, so if it were to hit, it could have a bigger impact than this previous storm in that way. 5 to 8 foot seas tomorrow with a northwest wind, 15 to 25 knots. So we'll see some partial sunshine tomorrow. Could be an afternoon flurry. Quiet for Wednesday and Thursday. Maybe a few more flurries on Friday. Right now, Saturday looks dry. We will watch Sunday, and I know that if you don't like snow, you probably aren't thrilled with me bringing it up. There is a chance we do not get it, or we just get brushed by it, but it's close enough and in a precarious spot. We've got to watch it for at least another few days.
And it's a story that sounds very familiar from a week ago.
And my tone's a little different now, a little more skeptical.
Yeah. Right, Ryan, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, certainly the cold temperatures and the snow can pose a number of dangers, especially for people experiencing homelessness.
News Center Maine's Drew Peters spoke with members of the unhoused community and with local nonprofits working to keep them warm.
Horrible. I mean, it's like hard to breathe, all alone because it's so cold.
It's been hard for Paul Can to stay warm the past few days.
Literally, we get any water. If we don't drink it right then and there, well, it's liquid. It freezes, and you can't unfreeze it.
With piles of snow and wind chill temperatures getting into the negative digits, it's more than discomfort that Can and others who are unhoused fear, though.
Because I know I've had a lot of friends pass away and stuff, and I know it's going to happen more and more and more. Because it's cold.
Their digits are getting too cold. They're at risk of frostbite. They're at risk of hypothermia.
Risks that Andrew Lardy with Tedford Housing says he and staff at the nonprofit's overnight warming center are working to prevent.
So this building is rated for 35 people overnight. And in the last few days, we've had on average about 30 people a night.
That demand pushing Lardy to extend the center's hours by an extra hour and a half this week.
So there's just a lot of partnership.
Providing anyone in need with a space to sleep, a warm meal, and proper winter clothing.
Everyone deserves the dignity and the possibility of waking up in the morning and having things get better. So without low barrier programs, we'd have a lot more people dying in the streets.
And when Tedford Housing's warming center closes for the day, volunteers at the Gathering Place Day Shelter open their doors for unhoused community members to keep warm.
Having someone that they can talk to and show that they matter and that they're important to the community and they're not just a hindrance, is a big deal.
If you're down and out, got no place to go, place will feed you, dress you, house you.
Tom Knowlton has been coming to the shelter for the past year and says it's given him a safe space to stay while saving up money.
I just can't wait to get my apartment, my car, get a car, and get back on my feet again.
Hoping that next winter he'll have his own place to stay warm.
You can't live out there in that cold. You know, you might think you can, but you can't.
In Brunswick, Drew Peters, News Center, Maine.
By the way, if you need a place to stay warm, the state does keep a running list of emergency shelters. You can find it by visiting maine.gov/MEMA.
You can go under the Response and Recovery tab and select Mass Care, or simply text the word WARM to 828-6622 for that link. We'll be right back.